Alright, boys and girls, today we will be doing 5.4F. We are going to simplify numerical expressions that do not involve exponents, including up to 2 levels of grouping. So that just means that we're going to simplify numerical expressions that do not have exponents with 1 and 2 levels of grouping. So this is called order of operations. So there are 6 very important letters that we need to remember when we are doing order of operations, and those letters are P, E, M, D, A, S. And those letters all together, when we talk about those letters, we are going to say the word PEMDAS. So PEMDAS is an acronym for the way that we are going to do order of operations. The P stands for parentheses, and brackets. Please make sure that you draw your parentheses and brackets so you can just remember what those two things look like. The next letter, E, stands for the word exponents. But we are not going to learn about exponents in 5th grade. We will learn about those in 6th grade next year. So the M stands for multiply, and the D stands for divide. And it's very important that we remember to do these left to right. So these are to be solved from left to right. So right now just go ahead and draw an arrow on the top of the M and the D that goes from left to right. Those will be solved from left to right. The A stands for addition, and the S stands for subtraction. Addition and subtraction are also to be solved from left to right. So if you will draw an arrow with me above the A and the S to remind us that it goes from left to right. Alright, boys and girls, now that we know what PEMDAS stands for, let's just remember, first of all, that exponents are not introduced until 6th grade. So we will not talk about exponents until you are in 6th grade next year. Our brackets and our parentheses, our P from PEMDAS, are used to group operations. And if you remember, we've talked about in class, the parentheses shout, solve me first. So we take our parentheses and we solve them first. Whatever is in the parentheses, we solve first. And our PEMDAS tells us this because the parentheses are first in our acronym. So parentheses, we solve them first. And parentheses can be used for 1 level of grouping. And then we can have 2 levels of grouping. And in 2 levels of grouping, our parentheses are inside of brackets. And remember, our parentheses shout solve me first, even when they are inside of brackets. So you solve what's inside the parentheses first, and then you solve what's inside the brackets. So when we have numerical expressions, we need to just know that numerical expressions are math sentences containing numbers and operations. They are no equal signs. Because we are trying to figure out what our numerical expression is. And so now, boys and girls, we are going to solve using order of operations. We are going to simplify these equations using order of operations. Boys and girls, every time you have a equation like this, I expect you to write down your PEMDAS like we used earlier. So we have P for parentheses, E for exponents, M for multiplication, D for division. Remember to put your arrow above your multiplication and division. Then we have A for addition and S for subtraction. Put your arrow above those as well. And now we are going to plan out our steps. So PEMDAS is the order in which we are to solve this equation. So first, our P. We have to solve the P first. So do we have anything in this equation right here that is inside of parentheses or brackets? Yes. So our first step would be to solve what's inside of the parentheses. Okay, so we're going to automatically mark out our exponent because we don't have any exponents to solve. And then we are going to do our multiplication and division from left to right. So, do I have any multiplication or division that's not inside of my parentheses? I do not. So I can't solve those. Next, we're going to do addition and subtraction from left to right. So whatever comes first in my equation. And if you look, I have 10 minus 3 times 2. So my next step would be to subtract. Then I have addition, and my next step would be to add. So I'm going to solve these now in my steps that I ordered. So my first step would be multiply 3 times 2. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6. And now I'm going to rewrite my equation. So 10 minus 6 plus 5. I did my first step. My second step is to subtract. So now I'm going to subtract 10 minus 6. 10 minus 6 is 4. That's my second step, and I'm going to rewrite my equation. So 4 plus 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. That's my third step, and my answer is 9. We have solved this equation, and if you look at this, I just want you to remember that this looks like a V, and that's a V for victory because you got to the correct answer. All right, now we're going to solve the next one. Remember, you have to write down your PEMDAS every single time you have a problem like this. So P for parentheses, E for exponents, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, and S for subtraction. Put your arrow above your M and your D so you can remember to solve from left to right. An arrow above your A and your S to remember to solve that from left to right. And now you can list your steps. So first I'm going to check, do I have anything in parentheses? Anything saying solve me first? Yes, I have 7 times 2. That's going to go first. Do I have any other parentheses? Nope. So I'm going to mark out my E because I don't do exponents until 6th grade. And so now I have multiplication and division from left to right. In my equation, do I have any multiplication or division? I have multiplication. So my next step would be to multiply. I don't have any division. My next one that I'm looking for addition or subtraction from left to right. So I have subtraction. My next step would be to subtract. And now we can solve this equation following our steps. So our first step is to multiply 7 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. And now I'm going to rewrite my equation. So I have 14 minus 2 times 2. Our next step, number 2, says we multiply. So we have 2 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Second step is done. We can rewrite our equation. So we have 14 minus 4. My last and final step would be to subtract. So 14 minus 4 is 10. That is our answer, and we have a V for victory. All right, boys and girls, now we are going to work with 2 levels of grouping. So remember, every time you have an equation like this, you will write your PEMDAS. PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition and subtraction. Remember that multiplication and division are solved from left to right, and addition and subtraction are solved from left to right. And now we can look through our equation and list out our steps. So the very first thing we check for are parentheses. Do we have any parentheses? Yes, we have 4 times 2. Our parentheses always shout, solve me first. So we have 4 times 2. Our parentheses also include brackets. Do we have any brackets in this equation? Yes, so we're going to need to solve our brackets. And in that bracket we have 9 plus 4 times 2. After that, we're going to look for multiplication and division from left to right. Do we have any multiplication or division? We have multiplication. So next we're going to multiply. Then we can look for any addition or subtraction that are outside of the brackets. Do we have any addition or subtraction outside of the brackets? We do not. So now we can solve our equation. Our first step is to multiply 4 times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. And now, boys and girls, we are going to rewrite our equation, but we have to remember that we still need to write our brackets. So we have 9 plus 8 inside of the brackets times 2. And now I can solve what's inside my brackets. 9 plus 8 is 17. We have 17 times 2. And I don't know what 17 times 2 is off the top of my head, so I'm going to come solve it over here to the side. 17 times 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry your 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So 17 times 2 is 34. And we have a V for victory. All right, boys and girls, let's look at this last one. What's my very first step that I should be doing? Writing out my PEMDAS. So we have parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction. We need to remember to write our arrow above multiplication and division and our arrow above addition and subtraction. And we can list out our steps. So the first thing we look for are parentheses. Do we have any parentheses? We have 4 plus 4. Do we have any brackets? Yes, our brackets are there. So we have to solve 3 times 4 plus 4. And then we look for any multiplication and division from left to right. Do we have any multiplication and division from left to right? We do not. And now we look for addition and subtraction from left to right. Do I have any addition or subtraction from left to right? I have addition. So now I will solve this equation using my order of operations. My first step, I had 4 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. Our parentheses shouted, solve me first. And we solved to get 8. Now I'm going to rewrite my equation. Please remember to keep your brackets. We have not solved what's inside the brackets. So we have 5 plus 3 times 8. We solve what's inside of our brackets. We have 3 times 8, and that is 24. Rewrite your equation, and our next step was to add. And we're going to add 5 plus 24. 5 plus 24 equals 29. 29 is our answer, and we have a V for victory. All right, boys and girls, go ahead and glue these notes into your journals, and please remember to submit your sentences into Schoology.